Hey, BJ O'Neill here with Business Coach Mastery with a video training all about the art of persuasion. Now, make sure you understand what we're talking about here. First of all, when it comes to building a successful, long-lasting business coaching business, there's sales involved, right? We're going to convince a business owner as to why they should engage with me as a coach, and they're going to pay me to help them grow their business. And I think it's inarguable that sales works. I think that the difference, though, the framework and how you do it, that can be the difference. Now, the way we teach things, the way I coach and train our coaches, we have 60 plus coaches scattered all over the country under our business coaching network for Business Coach Mastery. And we teach, how to build authentic relationships, how to add value. We want these relationships with businesses to be long lasting. And so you can't, in my opinion, come across overly salesy. You certainly can do that. It absolutely works. We see this every single day. You probably get texts and phone calls from telemarketers and those attempting to sell you something, right? So we know that sales do work. However, my perspective is if you're going to build long-lasting relationships, number one, businesses that are going to pay you, and B, those who can refer you to others long over time, you want authenticity, you want deep relationships, and so on. And so we want to shift our mindset from a sales-minded way to do that to a persuasive way to do that. Now you may say, well, that sounds like you're going to dupe people, and that's not at all what we're talking about. But persuasion is simply, this is the power of understanding this. Persuasion is simply helping someone see something that they don't see right now. That's what persuasion is. If you have kids, or if you may have kids that are out of the house now. Ours are staggered in 5 years apart, so we still have our youngest in school at 13. And consistently, she persuades her father, me, to get ice cream all the time. As a matter of fact, last night she persuaded me to go get Panda Express. She loves sesame seed orange chicken. And so she worked on me, persuaded me to do that. And it worked, by the way. But when it comes to building relationships, when it comes to certainly when you get your clients, you are going to have to enact persuasion to help them grow. Okay? Anytime that you're in the position of being the guide, that's what a business strategist is, by the way. You're the guide. You're going to guide someone along a journey, and you're going to have to persuade them to move from this step to this step to this step to this step to this step. Okay? And you got to understand that we're working with personalities. Well, let's be fair. Not everybody wants to move at the same pace. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are scared of change. But typically they're scared of change because it's the unknown. So when we lay out a case and we help them step by step, and we're persuading them and helping them, that's where the magic really happens. So here's a few things to think about. Number one, to persuade people well, you got to build trust. And this is the lineage, the separation from the transactional world and the relationship building world. And by the way, transactional, it works. It's just not the style that we teach and preach. And I don't think it's just the best way to do it. Clearly, that's just my opinion. But we want to build solid trust where people really listen to you. And it's not about just us, because one of the values of a fantastic coach is enabling and understanding how to truly utilize what's called active listening. In other words, you're really engaged, and that's how you build a lot of trust. But that trust builds that credibility. That trust allows them to begin to see what you're saying, and the path that you have is a way to go. Trust is the kind of the bedrock of how, when you're going through challenges, is how someone listens to you even further, or how someone buys into your idea. It's how someone, embraces and says, you know what? I may not fully understand it, but because I trust you, I'm gonna follow. And that's what leaders do. That's what those that are really good at being able to build relationships, they first build trust. Well, how do you do that? Well, one is as you're building a relationship with someone, you truly are actively interested in them beyond the business, by the way. So if I got a chance to meet you and we don't know each other that well and we're having a conversation, it's the art of being able to truly just be interested in what they're interested in. And it's just beyond the things that, the surface level things, like really getting an understanding what someone's all about. Like one of my favorite things to find out is like, when it comes to a passion point, beyond our occupations, beyond our families, our kids, like what do you love? Like I love learning about that because that's when you're really getting to know people. And when people are beginning to share about who they really are and what they like, that's where the foundation of relationships really gets into deeper waters. So for instance, I'm hugely passionate about two big things outside of family and, occupation and whatnot. And one, Jeeps. We're a Jeep family. We have several of them. We love them. I love Jeeps. I just loved them for years, had them for years, love them, love them, love them. By the way, if you like Jeeps, you probably know that Jeep stands for just empty every pocket. If you have a Jeep, you know what that means. Secondly, I love being on the lake. We spend a lot of time in the summertime with our families on the lake. I just love being on the water. Well, when you're having a conversation with someone and you're sharing and you're getting to know people and you're getting to know the things that they love to do and whatnot, that's where the relationship goes further, and that's when you start to build the trust. Okay? It's super important that you understand that to get to where you want to go. As you're sharing and building that trust, you start to understand the needs. What is the true felt need? Like if I'm sitting with a business owner and let's say they owned an HVAC company. Why? Just because they own one, what was the purpose? Like, why did you start it? What was the heartbeat behind this? Where are you headed with this? Where are you going? When you start to understand these things, that's where collaboration comes into play. Then, as you begin to share strategy, even strategy that they don't agree with or they don't understand, you stand the chance for them to listen at a much greater level. Okay? Again, remember, a lot of people fear change because they don't understand, they don't know. But many people actually want to change. You and I do. There are things about you, there's things about me that I'd like to change, but it's like we have this resistance because you're like, not sure how this is going to go. But we start to follow someone when we trust them and when we believe that they understand us. And that's why those two principles a moment ago are so critical. And so as really good coaches, we start to ask great questions. It's questions that begin to help unlock a mindset of opportunity. For someone to go, I haven't thought about that before. And when you're starting to recognize, we have different tools that we do that inside our Done For You system that we utilize in our coaching program. And so we have some software tools that we use and some other ways that even highlights and visually shows what opportunity could look like. Even things that business owners have never done before and what they could do if they were to use a strategy and so on. And it gets them to kind of go, never considered it that way. And that's the moment that persuasion starts to happen. Because it's not just about you selling them on an idea, because that's not really the point. The point is to really help them understand the power of whatever it is that you're talking about and to consider. Let me give you an example. One of our coaches a couple of weeks ago, they have a client that's a chiropractor. And the question was posed, because when we're working with a client in the very beginning, we're kind of working through some low-hanging fruit. There's 12 essentially, 12 foundational principles that doesn't really require any cost to implement those strategies. Okay, and they asked them about their past clients, like what's been the process? How do you keep up with them? How do you connect with them? And at first they were kind of like, well, we do this and that and the other. And through a series of questions and just getting clarity, it was recognized that they actually hadn't had any contact with customers that were 6 months prior. And they said, here's what we're going to do. And I'm kind of putting this in basic form. we're going to do a reactivation campaign to get in front of your clients that have not booked up an appointment for at least 6 months. And at first they're like, well, I don't know, whatever. And as they begin to show them, but here's what would happen if we did that based upon the numbers. This is the percentage of increase that you could see. And that's where they were like, that's interesting. That's persuasion. But that persuasion happened because they had spent time building the relationship and trust, understanding the needs, and so on. So here's what I want to ultimately share with you today. Persuasion is good. Persuasion is not bad. It's the way and the style of which you do the persuasion that matters. Like here's a statement, and write this down. It's that when you're working through, especially with a client or a prospect, and maybe they're being somewhat combative, or maybe they share a way or an angle or a thought philosophically that's different than what you share. And perhaps your goal is you're trying to persuade them to move them from where they're at now to where you kind of want them to be. Either A, to be able to potentially engage and you're going to help them grow the business, or maybe they are a client and you're trying to move them through thought and persuading them to where they need to go. And so here's a way that you can do that at any level. Friends, family, customers, whatever, clients. It's like, I understand what you're saying, but do you mind if I share with you a different perspective? Now, you see how that sounds? Would you be open if I share with you a perspective that maybe differs from what you're thinking? Most people are going to say, well, sure. It's usually when we come across combative. Look, we're all built that way, right? Especially when we don't agree with people. But when we're building relationship, when we're building authenticity, when we're building a network for long-lasting purposes as a coach, because we want to build a solid 6-figure, strong, healthy business coaching practice, you cannot bombard and be bull in a china shop. You have to do it through authenticity. And we understand that even in persuasion, we're going to persuade some people a lot faster and a lot slower than others. Some, it's going to take time. They might be a little more set in their ways. Perhaps they're stubborn. I'm stubborn, you're stubborn. We're all stubborn a little bit, right? But some people are like, hey, whatever you say, I'm going to do it. So you're going to have different levels of people you're going to work with. But understanding the power of persuasion and how it absolutely can transform your life and the life of the business owner that you're working with. But it's about mastering it. So I want to encourage you today to have a heart and a goal and a chase for persuasion. We're just helping people. They're here. We want to move them over here. We do it artfully. We do it kindly. We do it with gratitude. We do it with grace. We do it with care. One of my favorite things to do is to help somebody who disagrees with basic business principles sometimes. And it's usually because they just don't like change. And it's a lot of fun, in my opinion, to be able to say, hey, do you mind if I share with you a different perspective than what you have? And I'll tell you why in a moment. I share their perspective, I tell them why, and then I show them, but here's what would happen. Now look, sometimes people just don't want to do things. That's fine. But persuasion is powerful. But we don't want it to be salesy. We don't want to be self-indulging. We don't want it to be self-gratifying. The persuasion is to the benefit of helping them grow their profits and their revenues and to be a better leader, to be a better employee or employer, to be a better team player, and so on and so on and so on. Hope that makes sense to you. I hope that helps you to have that heart to persuade. It is an art form. It takes time. It takes consistency. Perhaps you're considering building a business coaching practice. You don't know where to start. You're curious about what we do by providing our done-for-you tools. You can go to businesscoachmastery.com and find some information there. There might be a button or two on this page as well. We can schedule a time to chat about it. We'll share with you exactly what we do in helping our coaches succeed all across the country and go from there. All right? Until next time, take care.